In the early years of the 1900s, the first State House of Illinois plunged unceremoniously into the Mississippi River. Other buildings would soon follow, sealing the fate of this once prosperous town. This is a story of a now sunken city and the area that surrounds it. My name is Gary, and I travel the Mississippi River watershed looking for clues on how this vast drainage system has shaped not only the landscape, but us as a people. The first stop on our journey is the town's namesake, which is referred today as Kaskaskia Island. To reach this area, we must first leave Illinois and cross the Mississippi River into Missouri. From there, we drive over 15 miles, then re-enter Illinois. Oddly enough, the current town of Kaskaskia is the only incorporated village in Illinois that is west of the Mississippi River. It is also the third least populated village with only 21 residents as of the 2020 census. One of the primary reasons for visiting this town today is the Kaskaskia Bell State Memorial. A quaint brick building erected in 1945 is our main destination, and what is inside is a fascinating piece of U.S. history. And it says we've got to press this green button over here. Take a look at it. Oh, there we go. Housed inside is what today is called the Liberty Bell of the West. This bell is 10 years older than the famed Liberty Bell that is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Kaskaskia Bell began its life across the ocean on the shores of France in the seaport town of La Rochelle. It was there that King Louis XV commissioned the casting of this bell for the Catholic Church in 1741. It was in that same year a young boy named George Washington was celebrating his 9th birthday. Also, the main figure behind the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, was yet to be born. His birth was still 2 years away. After the bell's completion in France, it sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and arrived at the mouth of the Mississippi River. From there, it traveled upstream by a cargo-carrying vessel called a bateau. The typical journey from the present town of New Orleans to Kaskaskia was said to take 3 to 4 months. It was during this time period the village was part of a territory colonized by France, appropriately called New France. In 1743, 2 years after its casting in France, the bell finally arrived at its destination in the historic town of Kaskaskia. Upon its arrival, the bell was presented to the Church of the Immaculate Conception. The church that you can visit today does not resemble the building when the bell first arrived. This brick church began its life in the 1830s, but with the encroachment of the Mississippi River, the church was moved to its present location in 1894. The former church that was standing in 1743 was said to be built from stones that were supposed to be used in the building of a French fort that was located on top of the hill that overlooked the village. The stone was eventually sold or either given to the church for reconstruction of the old vertical log structure that was in need of repair. Interestingly enough, an original stone from that church is located as a cornerstone on the building where the bell resides today. In 1763, things would change for this French village on the river. France would relinquish its holdings in America after being defeated in the French and Indian War. Britain would take control of lands east of the Mississippi River, while Spain would take control of land west. It would take 2 years for the British to make its presence known in Kaskaskia. Since Kaskaskia was such a remote location, not much changed under British control. In 1775, the stone church that was built 35 years beforehand had to be abandoned. The soft alluvial soil of the bottomlands could no longer support its weight. In its place, a vertical log church similar to the one in present-day Cahokia was built. Up to this point, the bell had yet to be called its present-day name, but that would change in 1778. Around June 29th, Colonel George Rogers Clark of the Virginia Militia landed near the present-day Fort Massac in Metropolis, Illinois. At that time, the fort had been abandoned by the French and it laid in ruins. Colonel Rogers and 180 of his men marched 80 miles through the wild and rugged land of what would later become the state of Illinois. It had taken 6 days to reach the eastern bank of the Kaskaskia River. Clark's mission was to capture the town and expel the British forces from the western front of the Revolutionary War. Clark and his men waited until nightfall to cross just north of Kaskaskia. Rogers listened for any sign that they had been detected, but none had come. Late that night, Rogers took the governor's house and secured the village with no shots or harm coming to anything. It is said that on that night, during July 4, 1778, the people of Kaskaskia rang the church bell in celebration of Rogers' occupation of the town. Thus today, the bell is now affectionately called the Liberty Bell of the West. For many years after, the bell would be rung on July the 4th to commemorate the day Colonel George Rogers Clark and his men brought the War of Independence to the banks of the Mississippi River. But this is not the entire story. With any telling of history, there are still unanswered questions and issues. As Ken Burns would say, it's complicated. The following is only a few questions from Kaskaskia. Did the inhabitants actually ring the bell in celebration on July 4, 1778? Was George Rogers Clark actually a hero, or was it something much more complicated? Where are the native voices in this story before and after colonization of Kaskaskia? And just how did the state capital end up falling into the Mississippi River? These are all questions that I hope to explore in future videos. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so that I can produce the next chapter in this series.